Recording this video after close of trade Friday 19th of August 2011. Well, interesting couple of days in the markets. So we had that huge sell-off on Thursday. I hope that didn't take anybody's by surprise. Just a recap, that was a pullback and a downtrend signal on the 135-minute chart. I was talking about this on Wednesday's video, how we were kind of coming up into resistance at 1200 and cyclical turns on a bunch of time frames kind of lining up for that. So you know, the news was pretty shocking with 4 or 5% kind of down, but you know, shouldn't have been surprising that that was going to play out. Last couple of days we've had fairly elevated volumes because of that kind of sell-off, but the whole question now is 1100 going to hold? And we've got these kind of cyclical support patterns, exhaustion, followed by kind of testing down here on a whole bunch of kind of risk-on trades, copper, crude, Aussie dollar, things like that. And so this level at 1100 on the S&P is absolutely critical. I can see us going either way. I can see some reason why we could catch, find a bottom and kind of rally from here. And I can also see reasons why we've not had enough kind of damage to the downside and kind of positive signals to show that we're just going to break through there and keep on going. And if we break through there, it'll be a hard break too. So let me show you kind of either the charts that kind of support either of those hypotheses. So first of all, the sine wave chart. So better sine wave on the 135-minute chart is lining up for a cyclical support here. So you know, we're getting very close to that kind of 1100 type level. So if that kind of catches on Monday, that's kind of you know, a reason why we might kind of end this trend here. In terms of momentum, let me show you first of all the 45-minute chart. Now this was one of the arguments where I was saying, you know, we were rolling over on this 45-minute chart, having had our end of trend. But my argument was that we've not seen enough kind of selling damage testing of these lows, and so you know, we had this straight line in terms of bullish divergence patterns kind of lining up here, and I was saying that normally what happens is that gets broken with some kind of sharp you know, sell-off that ends up with a flush or another exhaustion type pattern. Well, we kind of got that on Thursday, but in terms of damage done, it wasn't very severe. And then we put in a couple of bullish divergence patterns, and then with Friday's activity, we've kind of come back here. So, you know, potentially that's it. If we go up to the 135-minute chart, I mean, this is more like a classic, almost a classic turnaround pattern. So we've broken into our downtrend, pull back to end of trend. End of trend, as I said on this time frame, is about to signal here. We have exhaustion selling. Exhaustion selling kind of gets the move going up here, if you like. And then on this kind of shoulder down here, we kind of get exhaustion selling kind of coming into there. Bullish divergence kind of sets up here. Pull back with a little bearish divergence, bang to end of trend with a flush signal here. So that is kind of flushing out the last of the sellers at that point, and so that end of trend signal on this time frame would be good. So you know, potentially, you know, they are called end of trend warning signals because that's what they're warning. So you know, if we do catch on Monday and then start to rally back up, that wouldn't surprise me. But if you know, there's not enough kind of confidence there, we get some kind of, you know, bad data release, bad news out of Europe or the US or wherever, then you know, it won't hold, and we'll kind of keep on going through. In terms of trend chart, now this is, so those from that perspective, in terms of better sine wave and momentum, you know, I can make an argument for seeing a low on Monday, maybe Tuesday, and kind of rallying from there. But in terms of better X trend, you know, we've not trailed this stop down. You'd have thought with Friday's activity, with Thursday's activity was so extreme in terms of numbers. But you know, the close on Thursday was kind of midway through the bar. There was actually quite a lot of buying going on into the close on Thursday, and then Friday was almost like a kind of a testing down type bar. So Thursday did not end up being an exhaustion kind of selling bar, one of these white bars, where we would have trailed the stop down to that point there. So the stop would have been sitting, you know, 165, something like that, 1165, something like that, as a good kind of break point in order, for example, close the gap and kind of start to rally from there. We didn't get that, and so you know, we've not seen that kind of trailing stop activity. Now, sometimes they do work with kind of double patterns, so it's like if you got 2 days in a row, you can get a small kind of sell-off. This is, one here. These don't necessarily have to be big range days that end up being exhaustion days. That's an example there where we've got, it's a fairly small range day, but it's an exhaustion selling day that kind of sets up that kind of resistance point at which acts as resistance, and then we break out above that. So I think there's still some weakness to come in terms of better X trend on Monday, and let's see if we kind of put that in. So I'm not suggesting that Monday it's all over and we kind of break to an upside. In terms of oscillators, again, kind of argument for continuation. Beautiful little signal on that Wednesday, just saying that it was a topping out kind of activity. We rolled over with the Trin oscillator, and we're kind of midway through this move. So that would suggest we've got a couple of days to go before this kind of turns around. So and because we're so close to that 1100 level, and maybe if we break 1100 and then there's a whole bunch of stops got run, but the professionals say that's an excellent point to kind of dig in at 1080 or something like that, and say we'll pick it up there. So we could have one of these kind of breaks below 1100, gets caught within 10 or 15 points, something like that. Whole bunch of activity, people piling in at that point, and then we rally from there. So that's another kind of possible scenario. And in terms of higher time frame tip bar charts, this is the 40,500 tip bar chart. So this is the activity coming into Wednesday's turn, where we were seeing we had exhaustion buying, bearish divergence patterns kind of lining up, bullish professional bars right at the high here. It was a dirty end of trend, so there's the pullback level here. And then because the pullback gets violated, it doesn't print an end of trend at that point up here, but that was nicely signaled as the high on Wednesday, and then we just cracked through 1180. I said 1180 was absolutely key level. Bang, there we go. As soon as that got cracked, we were into a strong move to the downside. Now, on the 40,500 tip bar chart, yes, we've had end of trend kind of coming in here, a whole bunch of blue professional bars kind of come in. It's the end of the week, at the end of the day, a lot of professionals kind of closing out positions, not wanting to cover, to hold over the weekend and so on. So, and you could make an argument on Monday when this kind of starts to turn up that might be some kind of flush signal, bullish divergence signal here. Again, on this move down, the exhaustion selling happened right here to getting the move going. It's not happened down here to kind of flush everybody out on the downside. So, again, have we done enough damage in terms of flushing out all of those sellers at that point? So, interesting juncture in the market. And then in terms of day trades, I had a good couple of days. Today was great, 10 3/4 points after 6 trades, and the signals were working nicely today. I'll tag on my day trades. It's getting late. In terms of putting up this video on the site, it's probably going to miss the window for getting the email out, but a lot going on at the moment. So I'll put up my day trades in a video on the weekend, but I'm not sure whether I'll do them directly after this or leave it a little bit. So just to talk about the day trading chart today, so we had kind of the continuation of the move overnight, close of Thursday coming into the open on Friday, and you can see we'd had exhaustion selling. We come down here, pull back to end of trend, flush signal down here, bang, nice bottom, and then we test that bottom. So first of all, we race away a little bit too fast with professional bars kind of coming up here, and then we come back to test. The amateurs are kind of getting involved here, and then at the open, all these blue professional bars kind of come in pretty weak, selling at that point, and that holds. So that kind of sequence after exhaustion, flush, end of trend, second cyclical turn after end of trend, that holds nicely. I was surprised at the strength of this rally. I didn't get in long until this point here where we kind of broke upwards. So I was happy to take. I had a good winning trade up here, took a second one kind of going long, but I was trying to get short around here because and the reason for re-entering here was another flush signal on the way up. So this move, everybody's trying to sell off. That was quite a violent kind of sell-off at this point. Everybody was trying to sell off there, but it got caught with a flush pattern and kind of reversed and went the other way. And then you can see the top was made with blue professional bars here and here and exhaustion buying I was trying to get short a little bit too early at this point here after that blue professional bar and the exhaustion buying on this time frame. Got taken out on a stop on the way up, and then tried to get short again and got taken out for 1.5 knot on a stop. And then when it made the final move up here, this sell-off was so fast, there was just no kind of pullbacks or opportunity to get on board, and it just wouldn't stop. Anyway, so we got cyclical support kind of coming in here. Tried to get long at this point, and for a short little 1.5 points trade, and I reversed. This was kind of an interesting little pattern here. You could see it starting to turn around on the 1500 tip bar chart with bearish divergence patterns, but it was a little amateur up bars, a little bit of kind of continuation patterns. There were up and down bars happening here, and that was just a little consolidation pattern kind of midway through this trend move, and as soon as the low of that bar, the low of the support got broken, we were into a downtrend. We bounced out a Rambo pattern into a pullback, and the pullback, you can see a cyclical resistance. You can see all the professionals kind of active at that pullback. Weak buying at that point. We rolled over, bang, into a trend move at the end of the day. I was out of this. I was trying to hold for 10, but being the usual me, I couldn't get out. I couldn't stomach it, so I was out for 4.75 on this kind of move down. You'll see that in the video where I just lose my bottle, and the move was good for. I was short at 42.75, so the move was good for bloody 20 points. But it's just not in my nature to be able to pick that off. So anyway, that's what happened. It kind of fell down here and finished nicely with end of trend. All these blue professional bars kind of coming in at the lows, exhaustion selling. I think we'll put in some kind of little. That's not the right place for the exhaustion selling to mark an end of trend or bottom here. We need to see a second cyclical turn after that, but all of that activity will be on the Sunday evening, so it's kind of we'll kind of reset a lot of the analysis on Sunday evening to see what happens coming into Monday morning. So that's the situation in terms of day trading. Then just want to talk about some other charts, some other markets. Silver had an interesting day today, kind of huge move up to 42. Silver, the story on silver, we had $50 was kind of the peak up here. We'd had exhaustion buying, parabolic move into here, and we've just kind of been basing here. And interesting on the downside, when we're coming into this cyclical support areas, all these amateur bars kind of down here. Some of them were kind of buying amateur bars, but some of them were a little bit testing. That was a blue bar down into this move. Amateurs get onto it a little bit too quickly, and then kind of we break through cyclical resistance. That's kind of crossing the jumping the creek kind of professional bar, kind of jumping through there. We've tested back down to cyclical resistance, so resistance becomes support at this point. You can see all these blue professional bars here, very weak selling, but professionals kind of active at that point, bullish divergence, and we kind of take off to the upside. And so now we've had this little pattern where we've just formed a pullback and an uptrend. It's a little bit late. I suppose it would have been nicer a little bit earlier in the move, because that signaled after today's activity, and we're heading to a pullback to an end of trend kind of sequence on silver. But and I don't trade silver, so I'm not particularly interested in this, but just kind of curious because silver and gold are gold's gone epileptic over the last month, and silver's been hanging back a little bit. In today's activity, the silver bugs will be jumping up and down saying fantastic, and just here's my comment, and so this is pullback on the weekly chart here, weekly chart of silver. So the pullback would have been nice if it signaled right there. That'd have been great, but we've signaled here on this weekly chart, and so we're a couple of weeks away from an end of trend on the weekly chart here. But here's the thing to note: it's an amateur up bar on this weekly chart. We've had this exhaustion buying up at 50 here, and this move just looks like testing back up to the 50s. It's going to be weak. It's going to be a bearish divergence or a flush signal maybe on this time frame, but this activity is fairly weak. So just note of caution in terms of silver. I can see why it would run a little bit harder up to the 50s, test the 50s and so on, but I think this move is kind of suspect. In terms of gold's going kind of parabolic. We've got all kinds of exhaustion buying signals kind of going off there. The divergence patterns, kind of bearish divergence patterns, I think have started to signal on that on the daily time frame, but we've still got end of trends to make on those daily time frames, and gold's starting to show a topping out pattern pattern, but it's been so strong. It's just it'll take weeks, if not a month or two, to top out properly there. Euro. Now, the comment I made a few days or a week ago or so was in terms of this move. This move in terms of the sell-off in equities has not been followed by a move in the currencies. The currencies have been pretty rock solid. Dollar index, with the exception of Swiss franc's been epileptic, and a Singapore dollar, exactly the same thing, just huge kind of blow-off moves there. But the dollar index and the euro have been just hanging around doing absolutely nothing. So this, to me, doesn't seem to be a systemic collapse out of, for example, a European kind of banking crisis and a whole bunch of margin loans being called in and carry trades being called in to show a move back into the dollar index. Having said that, we're at a point where I could see a breakout in euro. Let me just show you what I'm seeing. So daily chart here, kind of sold off, exhaustion selling. We put in all these flush signals here, and you can see this flush signals kind of closer and closer to the zero line, whole bunch of bullish divergence patterns. In the lows here, we've been seeing kind of the professionals kind of active at this point here, and we're sitting right underneath a cyclical resistance pattern here. A little bit of bearish divergence, but we've kind of sold off a little bit here. We're sitting under this kind of 45 type level is kind of absolutely key. And if you go to the weekly chart, you can see on this topping out pattern, I mean, it's quite pretty in terms of all these little no demand patterns, just showing there's no demand up here at 45, 46. But note, on this time frame, we've had our exhaustion selling, we've had a flush signal here, we've broken up above cyclical resistance, and we're coming up on the weekly time frame to a support level here. The professionals kind of getting active at these points over the last couple of bars, last couple of weeks when there's been very little activity. A lot of blue professional bars there. Very weak selling, bullish divergence. So, because this cyclical support's kind of coming in, I could see us, and that'll be a pullback in an uptrend kind of signal. I could see us kind of popping through 45, 46 and kind of running a little bit. So that's just something to be aware of on the currencies. And then just the last point in terms of bonds. Bonds again has been going just wild. I'll show you the weekly charts. In terms of buying activity, professional up bars, I mean, this thing's kind of heading towards some type of top and profit taking and so on. But we haven't seen any of the divergence patterns that we need in order to reverse this. And we're in an uptrend. We're above cyclical support. We've got blue professional bars here. Even higher kind of exhaustion buying signals kind of going on. And if you go up a time frame to the monthly time frame, we're pulled back to an uptrend sequence here. And in terms of monthly charts, this pattern signaled a few months ago, and it looks like it's just got a couple of months to go still in terms of that final end of trend. So at some point we will find that kind of topping out pattern in bonds, but it's still an uptrend is still on these higher time frames kind of in play. But was pretty extreme activity here. That would be kind of close to a pro signal exit for me on this time frame. So that would be a point at which the professionals are maybe getting out and waiting for a little bit of retrace. And if we get a little bit of kind of profit taking in bonds, I mean, the money might kind of flow into equities, and we'll get a flip into equities to kind of push the testing at the highs a little bit. So there we go. I think that's all I've got to say for this video. Rather long, I'm afraid, but hopefully you got a little bit of time on the weekend to watch it if you're interested. And again, I'll put on my day trades as a kind of combination video kind of later on this weekend. Hope you traded well over the last couple of days, and enjoy your weekend.